Good morning, cadets. We will continue with the electrostatics as we have discussed previously about the types of charges. There are two types of charges, positive charge and negative charge. A body on losing electrons, it is deficient of electrons, shortage of electrons, it becomes positively charged. A body on gaining the electrons, it will be having excess of electrons, it becomes negatively charged. Glass rod rubbed with silk, right? Glass rod rubbed with silk becomes positively charged. You have understood the reason. Because the electrons which are there in the outermost orbit, they are called as valence electrons. These valence electrons are loosely bound because of friction. When we rub the silk cloth with the glass rod, the electrons which are there in the outermost orbit, valence electrons, they jump from the glass rod and enter into silk cloth. So the silk cloth becomes rich in electrons, negatively charged, and the glass rod is having deficiency of electrons, it is called positively charged. It has got the affinity of attracting electrons. Therefore, there exists a kind of attractive force between the positively charged body and negatively charged body. Okay, there are two types of charges, positive charge and negative charge. Now, today we will understand two types of materials, conductors and insulators. As you all know, metals, for example, are all good conductors. Metals are all good conductors. The materials which allow the flow of charges. The materials which allow the flow of charges from one end to another end, they are called as conductors. Copper, aluminium, iron, silver, gold, these are all metals. So metals are all good conductors. So whenever the charges enter into such metals, the charges will not be present at one particular point. They flow from one end to another end. Okay, that is how the movement of charges, flow of charges take place through the materials. That materials are called as conductors. Materials which allow the flow of charges are called as conductors. And you can write examples, all metals. Whereas insulators, the materials which do not allow the flow of charges, passage of charges from one end to another. Insulators, you can give number of examples like plastic, glass, ebonite, amber, all these, paper, etc. When you look at these type of materials, there is no chance of the charges flowing from one end to another end. In case if charges are deposited on such materials, they will continue as static charges. They will continue as charges at rest. So they lead to static electricity. Right? Then we have spoken about only the solids here. We have spoken only about solids. What about liquids? What about gases? Isn't it? Liquids can also be conductors. Liquids can also be insulators. In general, the liquids which allow the flow of electricity, they are conductors. We say that liquids conduct electricity, conducting liquids. Liquids which do not allow electricity, they are insulators, insulating liquids. In the same way, gases also we can generalize. Gases which allow the flow of electric charges, then they are called as conducting gases. Conducting gases. So, in case of liquids and gases, in case of liquids and gases, in case if they are conducting, the conducting of electricity take place by the flow of ions, by the flow of ions. If you take, for example, distilled water is an insulator. Distilled water is an insulator. Reason is it doesn't have any dissolved compounds or dissolved minerals. Distilled water is free of any minerals. So it is an insulator. If we consider the ordinary water that we drink, ordinary water that we use, maybe hard water or soft water, it is a conductor of electricity. So when we pass the electric current, the ions which are created in the liquid, the process is called as ionization. Ionization takes place. As a result of ionization, the positively charged ions and negatively charged ions are formed. These ions start moving in the opposite direction. As a result, conduction of electric current takes place. So in case of liquids or in case of fluids in general, the conduction of electricity takes place by the movement of ions. What is an ion? Ion is a molecule carrying either positive charge or negative charge. Ion is always having polarity. Like we have come to know that atom as a whole is electrically neutral. When an atom loses one electron, then it is deficient of one electron. Then we call it as positive ion. When an atom gains an excess electron, then it is having excess of an electronic charge. Then it is negatively charged atom. But we do not call it as negatively charged atom, we call it as negatively charged ion. Is that fine? So, a molecule or a compound which is having an excess of electron is negatively charged ion, and the one which is deficient of an electron is called positively charged ion. So, by the movement of these positively charged and negatively charged ions in a liquid, the conduction of electricity takes place. So, usually that liquid which conducts electricity is termed as electrolyte, and the process is called electrolysis. You are learning about these things in detail in chemistry, wherein you are learning Faraday's laws of electrolysis in detail. Okay, so we are not going in so much detail. In electrostatics, we are dealing mainly with the solids. So in case of solids like metals, it is the movement of free electrons. Flow of charges is nothing but free electrons. The free electrons are nothing but the valence electrons. Electrons in the outermost orbit, which are shared. So these electrons will be available plenty in number in case of metals. Therefore, metals are good conductors. So the by the movement of free electrons, the conduction takes place in case of metals. So by movement of free electrons, which are acting as charge carriers. Free electrons are acting as charge carriers. What is the charge carried by an electron? Negative charge, right? So by the movement of free electrons, the conduction takes place in conductors, in the in metals. Whereas in case of liquids or in case of electrolytes, the movement of ions, towards their respective electrodes. Negatively charged ion move towards positive electrode, negatively charged ion move towards negative electrode, positively charged ion move towards negative electrode, negatively charged ion move towards positive electrode. So by the movement of these charged ions in the electrolyte or in the liquids, the conduction takes place. The movement of ions is responsible for conduction of electricity in liquids, or you can say fluids. Whereas in case of insulators, there is no possibility of flow of charges. Therefore, in case if charges are in excess on any insulator like plastic, amber or glass, they will be deposited locally at that particular point. If any conductor comes in contact with that particular region, then the electrons will be suddenly transferred from that part to the other part. Okay. So in the previous session we discussed about the types of charging. Charging by conduction, charging by induction. Charging by conduction in simple terms is the charging of a body in contact with the charged body. It is called as charging by contact or charging by conduction. Conduction means if we take an external charged body and bring it in contact with a neutral material. When an external charged body is brought in contact with the neutral body, then the jumping up of charges from the charged body to the other body takes place. This is charging by contact, which is called as charging by conduction. I gave example of electroscope, right? Yes. In the case of electroscope, the gold leaf, the folded gold leaf, they diverge when they are deposited by the charges. So that shows that the body is charged. So electroscope is a device which is used to detect or which is used to check whether a body is charged or not. Okay. Charging by induction also we have learnt, wherein when a body is held at a particular distance without actual physical contact, then the charging takes place in the other body. That is called as charging by induction. Now with these things in mind, let us go to learn about the properties, basic properties of charges. Okay. Before we discuss the properties of the charges, basic properties of charges, let me explain one more difference between the conductors and insulators. Let us say a metal sphere is taken on an insulator stand, like wooden stand. Now, if a charged rod, let us say a charged plastic rod, charged plastic rod is having electrons. Am I right? Yes. This is charged plastic rod, that is rubbed plastic rod. Plastic rod rubbed with fur. When it is brought near the metal sphere, what happens? Interestingly, since we know that metal is a solid one, it consists of free electrons, excess in number, free electrons throughout the body. These free electrons are movable. So the electrons which are there in this part, which are in the close vicinity, of this charged rod, these electrons get repelled, and you will find the deposition of electrons on the other side of the sphere. The other side of the sphere will be deposited with electrons. It means this side of the sphere will be having negative charges. Suppose I am drawing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 electrons. So 10 electrons are vacated from this particular part. So you will find 10 shortage of electrons, that is 10 positive charges. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 positive charges on the other side. So this is how charging by induction takes place in case of conductors. Charging by induction. Now if you want to have the metal sphere completely with only one charge, completely having only one type of charge, I want to make this completely a positively charged sphere. Then you have to connect this to with the help of a metal wire, connect it to the ground. This is called as earthing. When you just take a metal wire and just connect it to the ground, then it is called as earthing. So if earthing is done or grounding is done, interestingly, these electrons which are there, they float down to the ground. When they float down to the ground, you will not find any electrons in this part of the sphere. Right? That moment when you take out this external charged body, then the entire metal sphere will be having only positive charge. Will be having only positive charge. Symmetrically distributed positive charge. Symmetrically distributed positive charge. So the distribution of charge takes place symmetrically throughout the surface. It is because it is a conductor, it is a metal. So metal is the one wherein the charges are moving from one end to another end. As a result, distribution of charge takes place symmetrically throughout the sphere, and thus the sphere becomes positively charged. Sphere becomes positively charged. This is called as charging by induction. So opposite kind of charge is developed by charging by induction. So two steps you have to remember. One is bringing the external charge body, maybe negatively charged. In order to produce a positively charged metal sphere, you have to bring negatively charged external body and connect the other part of the sphere to the earth, grounding. As a result, excess electrons which are there will be flowing down to the ground, leaving behind this entire sphere with deficiency of electrons. When you take out this entire sphere, then we will see that the entire sphere will be having the deficiency of electrons, and thus it is having positive charge. It is having positive charge. This is how charging of a metal can be done by induction process. Whereas if we take the insulator, in the case of insulator, flow of charges do not take place. In the case of insulators, charging by induction takes place after bringing it sufficiently close. But the opposite kind of charges are found very close to that particular external charged body. And the redistribution of the charges do not take place in the case of insulator. That is the difference between insulator and conductor. Because insulator is the one wherein the charges do not distribute, the charges do not the charges are not allowed to flow from one end to another end. So whatever excess charges are there, they will be found locally at a particular position. That is difference between the static charges on conductor and static charges on insulators. I think we got the point. Now we will learn the basic properties of charges. Right? Now let us learn about the basic properties of charges. We know that like charges repel each other, unlike charges attract each other. This is the nature of charges. Immediately what it comes to our mind, properties of charges means yes, like charges repel, unlike charges attract. This is the nature of charges. Then what are the properties, basic properties of charges? they are listed 3 in number. One is additivity. Charges can be added, charges can be subtracted, just like algebraic numbers, just like scalar quantities. We have learnt last year how to add mass, how to subtract mass. Addition of mass. Mass is being a scalar quantity. Mass can be added, mass can be subtracted. Heights can be added, heights of all the boys can be added, heights can be subtracted, average can be taken. So mass, height and all these we usually take them as scalar quantities. In the same way, charges can be added. Additivity of charges is possible since charges are scalar quantities. Charges are scalar quantities. So scalar quantity, you know, the quantity which has only magnitude, which doesn't have any direction. The quantity which has only magnitude, which doesn't have direction, is called as scalar quantity. So charges can be added just like algebraic number. So charges are added, can be added following the rules of simple algebraic rules. Algebraic rules of addition. Algebraic rules of addition and subtraction. Okay. For example, suppose this is a charged body. Body is having charges, which is having say plus 6e, and at this part it is having plus 6e. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 plus 6e. That is 6 times the charge of an electron. And this side it is having a minus 9e. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 electrons on one side, and the other side is having vacancy of 6 electrons. Then what is the total charge of this body? Total charge of this body, if it is Q, then we add it. How do we add it? Plus 6e minus 9e. So then we get total charge on this body as minus 3e. That is, it is negatively charged surface, negatively charged body. So thus charges can be added, charges can be subtracted by following the algebraic rules of addition. Simple algebraic rules of addition. The main reason here is that charges are scalar quantity. Okay. Next, conservation of charge. Second important property is conservation of charge. Charge can neither be created nor be destroyed. Charge can be transferred from one body to another body. Just now we discussed how is a glass rod acquiring positive charge. How is a plastic rod is acquiring negative charge. So glass rod when rubbed with silk cloth acquires positive charge. The reason is some of the electrons, valence electrons on the glass rod, they jump onto the silk surface. So electron deficiency on the glass rod makes the glass rod positively charged. Electron excess on the surface of the silk cloth makes it negatively charged. So there is no question of creation of charge here. When you bring it back again, when you bring that silk cloth back to glass rod, which are being both charged now, you will see that both losing their charges. Both will become electrically neutral. Glass rod also acquiring neutral charge, and the silk cloth is also acquiring neutral charge. Means the electrons which were ripped off from the glass surface, which were found on the surface of silk, will be again jumping back, recombining onto the glass surface, and thus glass surface becomes electrically neutral, as well as the silk cloth also becoming electrically neutral. So this shows that charges are created by mere transfer from one body to another body. Therefore, there is a requirement of friction. Friction is required in order to have a creation of charge. I can say, in order to make a body charged, or in order to get a body electrified, friction is required. And we have learned charging by induction also, charging by conduction. So, conservation of charge is the second important property, wherein we can write charge can neither be created, charge cannot be destroyed. It can be transferred from one body to. Thus, we can write the statement for second basic property, that is conservation of charge. Charges can neither be created nor be destroyed, but can be transferred from one body to another body. It is just by mere transfer of charges, a body becomes positively charged or body is getting negatively charged. So, there is no question of creation or destruction of charges. So, transfer of charges take place from one body to another body. That is the meaning of conservation of charge. The third important property is quantization of charge, which is very important thing to be noted. Charge on any body, let it be glass rod rubbed with silk, or plastic rod rubbed with fur, amber rubbed with fur, ebonite rubbed with wool. In all these cases, or plastic comb rubbed with our dry hair. In all these cases, we have seen the rods getting electrified and the particular fur or wool or silk becoming the other opposite kind of charge. In these cases, the amount of charge that is present on the particular body is due to transfer of charges. And remember, the transfer of charges take place basically by the electrons. If glass rod has lost 10 electrons from its surface, those 10 electrons will be found on the surface of silk cloth. So, silk cloth is with minus 10 E and glass rod is with plus 10 E. That's how the charges will be distributed. Suppose this is a glass rod. On rubbing with the silk cloth, it is acquiring positive charge. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. If it is having 10 positive charges, the silk cloth will be having 10 negative charges. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So, this is how we account for the charge. The total charge on a body is equal to the integral multiple of the basic unit of charge, where n is a whole number, n is an integer, where n is a positive integer or a negative integer. N is an integer. So, this is called as quantization of charge. Even if the body is having continuous distribution of charge, still then you will expect that charge can be present in the form of integral multiple of charge. So, in this case, example of glass rod with silk, if it has got plus 10 E here, plus 10 E, it means it has lost 10 electrons. Here you will get minus 10 E. It means you can express the charge present on a body as a whole number multiple. Charge present on a body can never be a fraction. Half of charge is not possible. 3/4 of charge is not possible. Half of electron is not possible. 3/4 of electron is not possible. Either full electron or two electrons or 3 electrons. In this manner, charge will be a whole number multiple of electronic charge. So, this is the meaning of quantization of charge. So, you can just write quantization of charge as charge on a body is equal to integral, means integral whole number multiple, integral multiple of basic unit of charge. basic charge I can get. Integral multiple of basic charge. That basic charge is denoted by E, which is nothing but charge of an electron. Basic charge is nothing but E, which is nothing but charge of electron. So body may be negatively charged, body may be positively charged, but it is always having a whole number of that basic unit of charge. Basic charge, that is charge of an electron. Minus 10 E, plus 10 E in this manner. It cannot be fraction. Charge cannot be fraction of a electronic charge. Okay. So this was first explained by Michael Faraday, English physicist, experimentalist. English experimentalist Michael Faraday explained about quantization of charge. Charge will be always whole multiple of the basic charge. It cannot be fraction of a charge. So this was first explained by Michael Faraday. You are learning in chemistry Faraday's laws of electrolysis. Okay, and this experimentally this was confirmed by another scientist. His name is Robert Millikan. You must have studied Millikan's oil drop method. Robert Millikan confirmed. Robert Millikan conferred quantization of charge experimentally. Through his famous experiment, Millikan's oil drop method. Charge possessed by an oil drop passing through an electric field is found to be whole integral multiple of an electron. So that was exactly measured experimentally and confirmed by Robert Millikan. Therefore, these are the three important basic properties of charge. Now one more question arises. From this property, that is charge Q is equal to N times E, where N is a whole number, integer, may be positive integer or negative integer. Positive integer in case of positive charge, negative integer in case of negative charge, right? Carried by a body. So using this, one can calculate how many electrons are required to get one SI unit of charge. You know, SI unit of charge is coulomb. In order to get a plastic rod, for example, suppose you have got a plastic scale. In order to charge a plastic scale just by 1 coulomb, how many electrons are to be transmitted? How many electrons are to be transferred? So one can calculate how many number of electrons are required to just constitute 1 coulomb of charge using this property of quantization of charge. Let us do this simple example. SI unit of electric charge is SI unit of electric charge is coulomb. Coulomb is the SI unit of charge, and you see coulomb is the name of scientist, which we are going to learn very soon in the next video. The Coulomb's force of interaction. Okay. So when you are writing coulomb, it is a named unit, named derived unit. So you have to write the first term with small letter. First word with small letter C. But when you are writing the symbol, it should be capital C. So it is the SI unit of charge. Now question is, how many electrons are required to form minus 1 coulomb of charge? Suppose a plastic rod has acquired 1 coulomb of charge, that is minus 1 coulomb of charge. How many electrons must be present on that? How many electrons constitute 1 coulomb of charge? This is the question. So we make use of the property of quantization of charge. Charge can be expressed as integral multiple of basic charge, that is electronic charge E. E is the electronic charge and M is the number of electrons, where E is electronic charge, which is charge carried by an electron. 1.6 into 10 to the power of minus 19 coulomb. It is actually negative charge carried by the electron. And Q we have to take as 1 coulomb. Okay. If you take both minus, then it will become minus 1 coulomb is equal to N into minus 1.6 into 10 to the power of minus 19. Right? So coulomb cancels. This coulomb cancels. Minus also cancels. Therefore, N is equal to, that is Q by E, which is very simple. 1 divided by 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19. So many number of electrons are required. So take this to the numerator. So this becomes 100 by 16 into 10 raised to 18. So if you calculate this, it comes out to be 6.24 into 10 raised to 18 electrons. This is the number of electrons required to just constitute 1 coulomb of charge. Okay. So you can just imagine how many. If you take out these decimals here, it becomes 624 into 10 raised to 16 electrons. 624 into 10 raised to 16 electrons. After 64, you have to write 16 zeros. 16 zeros. So you can understand now how enormous is 1 coulomb of charge. 1 coulomb of charge is not small amount of charge. Although if 1 coulomb of charge flows per second in a wire, it constitutes 1 ampere of current. So 1 coulomb can also be defined as the charge which is present in a wire when it is flowing at a rate of 1 ampere in 1 second. Then that charge is 1 coulomb. But 1 coulomb is not a simple charge. It requires so many number of electrons. The enormity of this charge can also be expressed by another simple example. You can just take down this example, you can try it yourself. If 10 raised to 9 electrons, if 10 raised to 9 electrons flow per second, per 1 second to a body, calculate the time, duration to transfer 1 coulomb of charge or to form 1 coulomb of charge. Then you will find out the enormity of this charge. How enormous is 1 coulomb of charge. So solve this problem and you will come to know. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye.